Let me tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. Right now, as you're watching this, there's a very real possibility that someone in your circle, maybe someone you trust, is directing negative energy toward you through practices most people dismiss as superstition. And here's what's really unsettling. The signs have been showing up in your life for weeks, maybe months, but you've been trained by modern society to ignore them, to rationalize them away as coincidence or bad luck. I'm going to walk you through 5 unmistakable signs that someone is using witchcraft or the evil eye against you. And I promise you, by the 3rd sign, you're going to recognize something in your own life. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because once you can identify what's happening, you can protect yourself. Now, I know this is a longer video, so if you need to speed it up to 1.5 times or 1 3/4 times, but don't skip ahead. These 5 signs build on each other, and missing even one could leave you vulnerable. What I'm sharing today isn't found in your average self-help book or psychology course. This is knowledge that's been deliberately kept out of mainstream conversation. So let's get into it. Sign 1. The pattern of sudden, unexplained physical decline. You wake up one morning and your body feels different. Not sick exactly, but drained in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Your energy levels have plummeted over the past 2 to 3 weeks. And here's the weird part. Every medical test comes back normal. Your doctor shrugs, maybe mentions stress, and sends you home. But you know something is off because this exhaustion is accompanied by other things. Persistent headaches that start at the base of your skull, a heaviness in your chest that has nothing to do with anxiety, or sudden skin issues that appear out of nowhere, rashes, hives, or breakouts that don't respond to typical treatments. I remember talking to a woman who described feeling like she was carrying extra weight everywhere she went, even though the scale showed she hadn't gained a pound. She'd wake up with unexplained bruises on her arms and legs, small ones, almost like fingerprints, but she had no memory of bumping into anything. Her hair started falling out in unusual amounts and her nails became brittle within the span of about 30 days. Here's what's really happening on a biological level. When someone directs intense negative intention toward you, whether through formal ritual, the evil eye, or concentrated malicious thought, your body's electromagnetic field responds. Think of your aura as a protective shield of energy. When it's under attack, it weakens, and that weakness manifests physically first. Your cells are electric. They communicate through electrical impulses. Disruptive energy from outside sources can interfere with these signals, causing what scientists might call unexplained inflammation, or what spiritual practitioners recognize as energetic assault. Your immune system, which is partly regulated by your energetic state, starts misfiring. Most people think that if something's really wrong, it'll show up on blood work or an MRI, but the truth is that energetic attacks hit the subtle body first, the layer that exists just beyond the physical. By the time Western medicine can measure the damage, you've already been under siege for weeks. The physical symptoms I'm describing are your body's alarm system, screaming that your energetic boundaries have been breached. Pay attention to the timing, too. Did these symptoms begin shortly after a specific interaction? Maybe after you shared good news with someone who seemed oddly unenthusiastic, or after a falling out with a friend or family member? Negative magical work often shows its first signs within 72 hours to 2 weeks of the initial casting. If you've been experiencing this constellation of symptoms, unexplained fatigue, physical ailments with no medical cause, sudden changes in your body, and they started within that window after conflict or around someone you now realize might harbor jealousy or resentment toward you, you've just identified sign number 1, but there's more you need to know. Sign 2, technology and electronics behaving erratically around you. This is where things get genuinely strange, and it's a sign that even skeptics have trouble explaining away. Your phone starts glitching, but only in specific ways. It might randomly restart, drain battery at impossible speeds, going from 80% to 15% in under an hour with minimal use, or apps crash repeatedly, particularly communication apps. Your laptop freezes during important moments. Light bulbs in your home or workspace burn out with unsettling frequency, sometimes even making a popping sound when they go. Electronics you've owned for years suddenly malfunction all at once, within the same week or 2-week period. Imagine this scenario. You're about to send an important email and your computer crashes. You restart it, try again, and your internet cuts out. You switch to your phone and it's frozen on a black screen. This isn't happening occasionally. It's happening daily, sometimes multiple times a day, and it's costing you opportunities, money, and peace of mind. What most people don't realize is that technology is incredibly sensitive to electromagnetic interference, and your personal electromagnetic field extends beyond your body by about 3 to 6 feet in all directions. When someone uses magical practices against you, especially practices involving your name, photograph, or personal items, they're essentially creating a disruptive frequency that attaches to your field. This disrupted frequency doesn't just affect your health, it affects everything in your immediate environment that relies on electrical currents and magnetic fields. Modern electronics operate on incredibly precise electrical signals. Even minor electromagnetic disturbances can cause malfunctions. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Practitioners of witchcraft and those with strong evil eye capabilities often work with what's called chaos energy. The purpose is to create disorder in your life, to frustrate your progress, to isolate you by disrupting your communication channels. Technology is the easiest target because it's already temperamental. So when these disruptions happen, most people blame the devices themselves or their service providers. You get caught in a cycle of replacing phones, buying new chargers, resetting routers, never realizing that you're the common denominator. The medical and psychological establishment will tell you this is confirmation bias, or that you're simply more aware of normal technical glitches because you're stressed. But the truth is that indigenous cultures and spiritual practitioners across the world have documented this phenomenon for centuries. They just called it different things. Crossed conditions, crossed up, or being jinxed were all terms for this same energetic disruption. In the Romani tradition, there's specific language around how the evil eye affects tools and objects around the cursed person. In South Asian traditions, they speak of how Nazar, or evil eye, causes milk to curdle, tools to break, and yes, modern electronics to malfunction. So if you've noticed your technology conspiring against you, especially if it started after a specific period or around certain people, and especially if these malfunctions occur during crucial moments, job interviews conducted over video, important calls, deadlines, you've identified sign number 2. The assault on your life isn't random, it's strategic. But keep watching, because the next sign is even more insidious. Sign number 3. Disturbing dreams and sleep disruptions that follow a pattern. Your sleep has become a battlefield. You're experiencing nightmares, but not the random, scattered kind that come from eating too much before bed or watching scary movies. These dreams are vivid, often violent, and they frequently feature specific people. Sometimes people you know, sometimes shadowy figures you can't quite make out. You might dream of being chased, attacked, suffocated, or trapped. You wake up between 3 and 4 a.m. consistently, that window of time spiritual practitioners call the witching hour or the hour of the wolf, and you feel a presence in the room, a weight on your chest, or an inexplicable sense of dread. I spoke with a man who described waking up every single night at 3:33 a.m. for 2 straight months. He'd wake with a gasp, heart pounding, sheets soaked with sweat, and he'd have this overwhelming sensation that someone had just been standing over his bed, watching him. During his waking hours, he started seeing the same numbers everywhere, on receipts, clocks, license plates, like reality itself was trying to communicate something he couldn't quite decode. Here's what's genuinely happening. Sleep is when your conscious mind releases its grip and your energetic body is most vulnerable. It's also when you're most receptive to spiritual interference. Practitioners who work with darker forms of magic know this, which is why nighttime rituals are so common across different magical traditions. When someone sends negative energy your way, especially through intentional spell work or sustained evil eye focus, it often manifests first in your dream space because that's where your defenses are lowest. Your subconscious mind is trying to process an attack it doesn't have waking language for, so it creates symbols: the pursuer, the trap, the darkness closing in. The 3 to 4 a.m. waking phenomenon is particularly significant. In traditional Chinese medicine, this is the time when the lung meridian is most active, and the lungs are associated with grief and letting go. In Western occult traditions, it's considered the inverse holy hour, the opposite of 3 p.m., the hour Christ died, making it a powerful time for dark workings. When you consistently wake during this window, it's often because spiritual activity directed at you is peaking during these hours. Someone may literally be working on you while you sleep, and your spirit is trying to alert your conscious mind. But here's the thing most people miss. These aren't just dreams, and this isn't just insomnia. Pay attention to how you feel upon waking. Is there unexplained scratching on your body? Thin red lines on your arms, back or legs? Do you wake with your clothes twisted or half removed when you went to bed fully dressed? Some people report waking with strange marks, like fingerprint bruises on their ankles or wrists, or experiencing sleep paralysis with increasing frequency. These physical manifestations during sleep are your body's response to energetic intrusion. The psychological explanation will tell you this is stress, anxiety, or sleep disorders. And sure, stress affects sleep. But the truth is that spiritual attack has a very specific signature: repetition, patterns, and escalation. It's not one bad dream, it's weeks of them, each more intense than the last, often featuring similar themes or the same attacking figures. And here's something else. If you start paying attention, you might notice these sleep disruptions intensify after interactions with specific individuals or on certain days of the week, particularly Saturdays or Tuesdays, which in various magical traditions are considered powerful days for hexing and curse work. So if your sleep has been hijacked, if you're waking at the same time night after night, if your dreams feel less like dreams and more like battles you're losing, you've identified sign number 3. Your rest is being stolen from you deliberately. Because exhausted people are easier to control, easier to break down, easier to keep trapped in cycles of failure. And speaking of cycles, there's something I need you to do right now before we continue. If you're recognizing even one of these signs in your life, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. Not because I'm trying to boost numbers, but because the information in the rest of this video and the follow-up video I'm releasing next week about protection techniques could genuinely change your circumstances. The algorithm is unpredictable, and if you don't subscribe, you might miss the exact information you need when you need it most. So do it now, and let's keep going, because signs 4 and 5 are where everything clicks into place. Sign number 4, inexplicable relationship breakdown and social isolation. People in your life are pulling away, and you just can't figure out why. Friendships that felt solid suddenly go cold. Family members you were close to become distant, critical, or even outright hostile for reasons that simply don't make sense. Romantic relationships implode seemingly out of nowhere, or if you're single, every potential connection fizzles before it even starts. Colleagues who used to be friendly now avoid you or seem uncomfortable in your presence. You feel like you're slowly being encircled, cut off, isolated. And honestly, the isolation feels engineered, not natural. Picture this. You reach out to a close friend to make plans and they're suddenly too busy, but you see them posting about hanging out with other people. You try to mend a relationship with a family member and every conversation turns into an argument over nothing. You meet someone new, there's chemistry, you exchange numbers, and then they ghost you completely. This pattern repeats so consistently that you start wondering if the problem is you, if you've become fundamentally unlikable somehow. But that's exactly what you're supposed to think. Here's what's really happening. One of the most effective forms of witchcraft and evil eye work focuses on disrupting your social connections, because isolated people are vulnerable people. When someone wants to harm you energetically, they often work to poison your relationships, creating discord and misunderstanding where none existed before. This is done through various means: gossip spells, discord jars, sour jars with your name written alongside the names of people you care about, or simply the consistent projection of malicious intent toward your social bonds. On a psychological and energetic level, this works because humans are incredibly sensitive to subtle cues. When you're under energetic attack, your frequency shifts. You become more irritable, more anxious, more withdrawn, and people around you unconsciously pick up on this shift. They can't name what's different, but something feels off about you and they instinctively create distance. Meanwhile, if the person working against you is someone in your social circle, they may be actively spreading subtle poison, not obvious lies, but carefully placed comments, concerned observations, reframed stories that paint you in a negative light. I'm worried about her lately. She's been acting so strange. I wonder if she's okay. These statements plant seeds of doubt while positioning the speaker as caring, when in reality they're systematically destroying your reputation. The truth is that relationship magic is ancient and honestly devastatingly effective. In hoodoo tradition, there are dozens of formulas specifically designed to break up friendships, families, and romantic partnerships. In Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cultures, the evil eye is often directed specifically at relationships. The envious glance at a happy couple that leads to sudden, vicious arguments. In South American brujeria, there are workings designed to make someone appear repulsive or suspicious to others without them knowing why. These aren't just superstitions. They're sophisticated psychological operations conducted through spiritual means. Pay attention to the timeline and the specificity. Did your relationship start deteriorating around the same time the other signs appeared? Are the breakdowns happening across multiple areas of your life simultaneously? Friends, family, and romantic prospects all going wrong within the same month or two? Most importantly, do the people pulling away struggle to articulate exactly why they're doing it? They might say things like, "I just need space," or "you've changed," without being able to point to specific behaviors. This vagueness is a hallmark of energetic manipulation. They're responding to something they can't consciously perceive. So if you've watched your social world crumble while feeling powerless to stop it, if you're being systematically isolated from your support system and every attempt to reconnect just makes things worse, you've identified sign number 4. You're being cut off deliberately, weakened by loneliness, primed for the final sign, which is perhaps the most disturbing because it affects the very core of who you are. Sign number 5. Thoughts that don't feel like your own and self-sabotaging behavior. This is the one that makes people question their sanity. You're experiencing intrusive thoughts that are darker, more self-destructive, and more persistent than anything you've dealt with before. Thoughts of worthlessness, failure, giving up on your goals, sudden urges to do things that go against your nature, snapping at loved ones, making reckless decisions, quitting jobs or projects you care about. You're self-sabotaging in ways that feel almost compulsive, and afterward, there's this disturbing moment where you think, "Why did I do that? That's not like me." The voice in your head has changed. It sounds like you, but the content is foreign, hostile, designed to dismantle everything you're building. Imagine you're working toward a goal, maybe a promotion, a creative project, getting healthy, and suddenly you're hit with overwhelming thoughts telling you it's pointless. You're going to fail anyway. Why even try? These aren't fleeting moments of doubt. They're full-scale mental assaults that come out of nowhere and derail you for hours or days. You might find yourself making bizarre choices, deleting work you've spent months on, picking fights with people who are supporting you, engaging in behaviors you swore you'd quit. And the strangest part is that in the moment, it feels almost like you're watching yourself do these things, like you're not fully in control. Here's what's genuinely occurring. Advanced forms of witchcraft and sustained evil eye focus don't just attack your body, your environment, or your relationships. They target your mind and will. In various traditions, this is called mental domination, thought insertion, or spirit oppression. The goal is to make you your own worst enemy, to turn your mind against yourself so thoroughly that you destroy your life from the inside. Practitioners accomplish this by attaching negative entities or energies to your auric field, specifically targeting your crown chakra, the energy center associated with thought and consciousness, or they work with specific herbs, oils, and items linked to confusion, depression, and mental fog. What most people don't realize is that not every thought you have originates from you. Your mind is a receiver as well as a generator. When someone directs concentrated negative energy toward you, especially combined with ritual work, they're essentially broadcasting on your frequency, those intrusive thoughts. They might be implanted suggestions designed to resonate with your deepest fears and insecurities, so you accept them as your own. It's psychological warfare conducted through spiritual channels, and it's terrifyingly effective because most people never question the origin of their thoughts. But the truth is that your authentic self has a very specific voice, tone, and pattern. When external influence seeps in, there's usually a notable shift. The thoughts become more extreme, more absolute. You'll never succeed. Instead of, this is challenging, they often come in second person. You're worthless rather than I feel bad, as if someone else is speaking to you, and they're accompanied by that uncanny sensation of disconnection, like you're narrating your life rather than living it. Some people describe it as feeling fuzzy, not quite here, or like I'm piloting my body remotely. The psychiatric establishment will diagnose this as depression, anxiety, intrusive thoughts from OCD, or even dissociation. And while those conditions are real, the truth is that spiritual attack can mimic or trigger every single one of them. The difference is the sudden onset, the pattern of escalation, and the connection to the other signs I've described. If your mental state deteriorated around the same time your health, technology, sleep, and relationships went sideways, you're not looking at organic mental illness. You're looking at coordinated assault. There's also the phenomenon of being sent back negative energy you've attempted to transmute or rise above. If you've tried to stay positive, protect yourself spiritually, or pray for relief, and your symptoms actually got worse temporarily before getting better, or just got worse, period, that's often evidence of spiritual warfare. When people working against you sense your attempts at protection, they sometimes intensify their efforts, which manifests as darker thoughts and stronger urges toward self-destruction. So if your mind has become an unsafe place, if you're battling thoughts and impulses that feel foreign and destructive, if you're sabotaging yourself in ways that make no logical sense, you've identified sign number 5, and now you have the complete picture. Let's bring this all together. If you've recognized even 2 or 3 of these signs in your life, unexplained physical decline, technology malfunctioning, disturbed sleep and nightmares, relationship breakdown and isolation, intrusive thoughts and self-sabotage, and it's time to acknowledge that you might be under spiritual attack through witchcraft or the evil eye. This isn't about paranoia or seeing threats where none exist. This is about recognizing patterns that mainstream society has trained you to ignore or pathologize. The first thing I need you to understand is that awareness is your greatest weapon. The reason these attacks work so well is because most people don't realize they're happening. They internalize the chaos, blame themselves, spiral into depression and hopelessness. But now you know, you can see the signature, and that changes everything. Here are your immediate next steps. First, document everything. Start keeping a journal of the symptoms, the timing, and any people or situations that seem connected. Patterns will emerge that give you crucial information. Second, begin basic energetic hygiene, salt baths, burning sage or Palo Santo, carrying protective stones like black tourmaline or obsidian. These aren't cures, but they're important first-line defenses. Third, and this is crucial, cut off energetic access. Remove photos of yourself from social media, or at least tighten your privacy settings. Don't share your wins, your plans, or your vulnerabilities with people you're not absolutely certain are in your corner. Remember, energy follows attention. The less access people have to your life, the less they can target you. But this is just the beginning. What I've given you today is the diagnostic, how to recognize that you're under attack. What you need next is the prescription-specific powerful techniques to break these attachments, reverse the energy, protect yourself going forward, and if necessary, find out exactly who's behind it. That's what I'm covering in my next video. I'm going to walk you through spiritual cleansing protocols that actually work, how to create protective barriers around yourself and your home, and yes, how to safely identify the source of the attack without putting yourself in more danger. Timing matters here. The algorithm is fickle, and if you're not subscribed, you might not see that video when it drops. And here's the thing. If someone is working against you, every day you don't address it is another day they have to dig deeper into your life to cause more damage. You wouldn't ignore a physical threat. Don't ignore a spiritual one. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's finish this. Your life didn't fall apart because you're cursed with bad luck, or because you're fundamentally flawed. Someone looked at you, at your light, your success, your potential, and couldn't stand it. They decided to take action against you. But now you're taking action back. You're educating yourself, recognizing the signs, and preparing to fight. That makes you dangerous to them in all the right ways. I'll see you in the next video. Stay aware, stay protected, and remember, they can only win if you don't know the game is being played.